Welcome back to the channel where we have something to celebrate. 1,000 subscribers! Brilliant! So I promised on a previous video that when we hit 1,000 subscribers, well, I would reveal a new car to the channel. It's actually parked over there. Don't worry, it's not this. You've seen this before. It's over there. But before I show you the car, it's really important that I say that if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please do. And let's see how far this little Cornish car channel can really go. Right, on to the reveal. It's not me who's going to be revealing it. It's going to be me 6 weeks ago. Here we go. We've done it. 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. So, for those of you that watched the Jaguar XJ8 video, this is a direct continuation. I've just dropped that car off and well, I'm in the new car, joining the collection, the new car here on the channel. For those of you who are particularly eagle-eyed, you might have worked it out already because there's a little logo there on the seat, also on the top of the gear knob here. But well, it's a very special car and I promised you I'd share it with you when we hit this milestone, this 1,000 subscriber milestone. So here it is. Cue the cinematics. Isn't our Jaguar S-Type R pretty? And boy, does it go! Oh my goodness! Oh, you'd never get bored of that. Now, I did say that this car is a bit of a project. It needs a few jobs doing. The first one to note, the ABS light is on. We knew that before we bought it, so we've got to sort that out. Secondly, there's a squeaking belt on startup. It does go away once the car's warm, but from startup it does squeak. It's annoying, it needs to be sorted out. Here's a video of it. And finally, and possibly most annoying, is the driver's seat. It moves forwards and backwards, it reclines and comes back up. They're all electric, these seats of course, but the base doesn't come up or down, so I'm sat really high and kind of really awkwardly here in this S-Type. So that's also something that I'll need to sort out. So ABS, squeaking front belt, fingers crossed it's not a supercharger, and getting this seat sorted out are three priorities, as well as giving it a good clean and a damn good drive. But my goodness, I'm sat here in my Jaguar S-Type R, a true bucket list car for me, and one that I really didn't think I would ever own. So I'm chuffed to bits with it. One other thing about this car I should say is that the wing mirrors have delaminated, so we need some new mirror lenses for those, but that's a fairly small thing. Anyway, I'm going to continue driving this car back home and enjoying it all the way. We're driving it across Dartmoor. Remember, I dropped the XJ8 off at Dartmoor, so I'm driving back right now. So I'll cut back again to me in the future. Don't know what state we're in with the car, don't know if we've had any jobs done. I don't know how quickly it's taken for us to get to 1,000 subscribers, but thanks again for helping us reach that milestone. And please do enjoy following this journey, this restoration of our Jaguar S-Type R. I keep saying it because I can't believe it. It's brilliant. Back to me in the future, thanks. And here it is. Now I know that the S-Type styling really does divide opinion, but to me, well, I just love it, particularly in this S-Type Halo performance model, the R, and with those lovely quad xenon headlights there out front. I really can't take my eyes off this car. Of course, the styling is a nod to the 1963 Jaguar S-Type, and well, I think they really got this just right. As I mentioned earlier, it's been 6 weeks now since I collected this Jaguar S-Type, whilst I waited for you lot to get the channel up to 1,000 subscribers. Thanks again for that, by the way. Now that squeaking noise that I mentioned, well, that was the supercharger belt, so I've had that swapped along with the auxiliary belt. Just listen to it now. The ABS problem was solved by some new reluctor rings, which I purchased from reluctorrings.com, who were absolutely brilliant. I also had the engine fully serviced, and as for that seat, well, it turns out it had slid off its runner. So we put it back on its runner and now it works perfectly. And this Jaguar is back to being really, really comfortable to drive, just like a Jag should be. Now I do think that there is a crack, there's a blow on the manifold there up the front, which I think is a crack because from cold you can hear it, but after a couple of minutes, after that metal heats up and expands, it seems to be sealing itself and the noise kind of goes away. So I need to get to that at some point. But right now, this car is driving absolutely brilliantly, and I've only spent sort of £600 on it so far, which is pretty good. Now, Jaguar S-Types are really prone to rust through the sills and around the rear arches, and I took the opportunity when the car was in the garage and it was up in the air to go underneath and have a look myself, and I'm pleased to report that this car really is in very good condition. There's next to no real rust on the underside of this car, the sills and the rear arches, which is brilliant. So, after all of that, it was time to give this car a really good clean because it was filthy. Just look at these pictures before and now. What a handsome car. Built in Birmingham here in the UK, the S-Type Jaguar went on sale in 1999, having debuted just the year before at the Birmingham Motor Show. Now this four-door saloon was built really to compete with the likes of the BMW 5 Series, and was developed under the time when Ford owned Jaguar. And the S-Type name, well, it's a revival of that 1963 to 1968 Jaguar S-Type. This rear-wheel drive Jaguar is based on Ford's DEW platform, which is the same platform they used for the Lincoln LS, the Ford Thunderbird, and it was continued on into the Jaguar XF model. The car was available with two V6 engines, with three V8s, one of which was supercharged, and with a V6 diesel, a twin turbo engine, which was really, really good. But as for this one, well, it's very special, and that's thanks to that little R badge, which actually appears all over the car. You can see it here on the back. It's also on the brake calipers and in numerous places inside the car. The R badge adorns only the flagship Jaguar performance models, and in fact was first seen on the Jaguar XJR race cars in 1983. But it was in 1988 when we first saw the R badge on a road car, the wonderful Jaguar XJR S. So it's been nearly 35 years of the Jaguar R range, and we have seen some wonderful cars, including the XJ40 XJR, the X300 XJR, the X308 XJR, the original XKR and the facelift XKR, the X350 or 358 XJR, the XFR, the XKRS, the F-Type R, the latest Jaguar XJR, and of course, the reason that we're here, the Jaguar S-Type R. Now, when it was launched, the S-Type R was the fastest and most powerful saloon car that Jaguar had ever made, getting the uprated 4.2 litre V8 400 brake horsepower version of the supercharged AJ V8 engine, delivering a 0 to 60 time of 5.3 seconds. And it was this same engine that went into the XJR and the XKR. Now, the S-Type R, or the STR, as a number of owners and enthusiasts refer to this car, actually joined the S-Type lineup in 2002 and was built to compete with the BMW M5 and the Mercedes E55 AMG. And it was with this in mind that the R came with Bilstein suspension and Brembo brakes. It also comes with this lovely body kit comprising of the front and rear sports bumpers, side skirts, this tasteful boot lid lip spoiler, and a mesh grille. The alloy wheel options on this car included these lovely 18-inch 5-spokes, and this car is wearing matching Michelin Sport tyres, a sign that this car has been really well looked after. And well, I'm not usually a fan of a silver car, but I think this Jaguar S-Type R looks absolutely brilliant here in silver, particularly with those dark rear lights, the body kit, that mesh grille up front, and those quad headlamps. One thing I'm not quite so keen about is the Jaguar Leaper out there on the front. Whilst I know that it is classic Jaguar to have one of those, I do actually, on these cars, prefer the flat growler badge to the Leaper fitted to this Jaguar S-Type. Sat here inside my Jaguar S-Type, well, I'm reminded of two things. One, this is a luxury car. After all, this was £47,000 when new back in 2003. And using the Bank of England's inflation calculator, well, that would make this an £80,000 car today. Wow. The second thing that I'm reminded of is that this is an S-Type R. I know that because it's written here on the top of the gear knob. Here on these comfortable but figure-hugging, fully electric leather sports seats. And the best bit, it's here on the rev counter where it says Supercharged. At launch in 1999, the Jaguar S-Type's dashboard was a U-shaped configuration, which I always thought looked a bit odd. But after only a couple of years, well, the more traditional horseshoe-shaped dash was fitted to the S-Type, and that made it consistent with the XJ and the XK Jaguars of the time. The S-Type R also came with the traditional trademark Jaguar J-Gate automatic gearbox, with 6 speeds and a sports option. Whilst the J-Gate is fairly dated, well, the gear change in this car is smooth and quick, so there's no complaints from me. Albeit I can't help thinking that the Jaguar S-Type would have benefited from some gear change paddles here behind the steering wheel, just like my old RS6 used to have. As for the rest of the interior, well, as you can imagine, it's fairly dated. It's nearly 20 years old, but this is a really high specification car. This car comes with heated seats, heated rear and front windscreens, thanks to Ford, dual zone digital climate control, a CD player, cruise control, an electric handbrake, which actually wasn't available from launch but came shortly after, and Jaguar's touchscreen, sat-nav and comfort controls, which is dated but works exactly as it should. One thing's for certain, this is a very well put together car. It really has that high quality finish still to this day after nearly 20 years. But my favourite option on my Jaguar S-Type, I love it, is in here. It's a £790 option from new, and it is the Jaguar Motorola car phone. Now I will get a SIM card and I will get this phone working. So to quote an overused term, in fact all motoring journalists, YouTubers and bloggers will have used it at some point, but sat here in this Jaguar, it's a really nice place to be. The seating position, well actually the driving position of this Jaguar S-Type R is absolutely spot on. It really is nice to drive. Whether it's short journeys or long journeys, the S-Type R really does take all of it in its stride. But plant your right foot and well, this thing builds speed like nothing else I have in my collection. It's properly quick thanks to that 400 brake horsepower it flies. And to be honest, I don't think there's very much on the road, old or new, that's quicker than a Jaguar S-Type R. And as I said earlier, I really like the fact that it says Supercharged there on the rev counter. And I suppose that's intended to remind you that you're in a supercharged car. But to be honest, driving this S-Type R, you are not going to forget, thanks mainly under acceleration to that wonderful supercharged kind of whine that comes from the engine. It really is a brilliant noise. In fact, here's some of it for you now. Here we go. This car really is a great all-rounder. Okay, so it's quite expensive to run, certainly very thirsty. In fact, I seem to be constantly putting fuel in this car pretty much every time I use it. It's far thirstier, in fact, than my MG ZT260 V8. And I think that's thanks largely to the fact that this car is automatic, and also it's got that constantly forced induction thanks to the wonderful Eaton supercharger that sits on top of the engine. But when you're driving an S-Type R, well, to be honest, you don't really think about the fuel consumption. You don't think about it because you're having way too much fun. And that's the big surprise about this car. I always knew that it would be great to drive, comfortable, luxurious, wafty car. And it is all those things. But it's also so much fun. And that was unexpected, but very, very welcomed. Here we go. Oh! The S-Type received a number of styling tweaks in 2004. And in 2007, well, production of the S-Type ceased, and with it went the S-Type R. 8,043 S-Type Rs were produced and sold around the world. And whilst I know the majority opinion will be to favour the BMW M5 or the Mercedes-Benz E55 AMG over the S-Type R, but neither of these rivals had the S-Type R's caddish charm, a charm that I think it still possesses to this day. So here it is revealed, my 1,000 subscriber milestone car. I do need to sort out that manifold. I do want to put a SIM card in the phone and see if that works, and I want to return this car back to its original registration. I'm not a big fan of private registrations, if I'm honest. So stay tuned to the channel and follow my journey with this car as we do all of those things and more. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with it yet or how long I'm going to keep it. What I do know is that I love it. The first supercharged car in the Pentor Cars collection. Now I'm going to take this car for one last drive. I hope I've parked actually really close to some cows. I hope that you can't hear them too. They're very loud. I hope you can't hear them too much on the channel. There they are. There you go, on cue. But I'm going to take this car for a nice drive. Not too far, however, because it costs a bloody fortune to run. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks so much for the 1,000 subscribers. Remember, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Don't forget to click like on this video and do let me know what you think about this car, about the channel or anything at all. I love to hear from you. I do try and get back to you all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again very, very soon. Bye for now. Bye-bye.